Hey, this is Jeff, and welcome back to the no-kill run of the pit. Last week, Medadia volunteered us to fight in the arena, and Luz is counting on something Phaedra told us about the rules to get through it. There's nothing that says you can't kill your opponent, which is why everybody assumes we'll die, but there's nothing that says you have to kill them either. Phaedra just said the winner is the last one standing, not the last one living. Of course, that switches her main problem from being psychologically unable to kill to being physically unable to knock somebody out. Her taser fist was confiscated at the gate, and sadly, there wasn't one in Phaedra's goodie locker. Top 10 things that sound dirty but aren't. Anyway, let's talk to Phaedra and at least find out who our opponent is.
You again? Back for more, huh?
I don't really want to fight, but let's assume for the minute that I did.
Oh yeah? You sure you're ready to die?
No, but put me down for a fight.
Well, all right. I've got one for you right away. Or you can take some time to put your affairs in order. It's up to you.
Assuming I did, who would I be fighting?
We're gonna throw you in there with a bunch of the other scabs who think they've got what it takes. You're all gonna fight it out, and the last one standing gets to move on. Probably won't be you, though.
And once again, last one standing, not last one alive, confirming that it wasn't just a slip of the tongue last week. Even better, here's some light at the end of the tunnel for our problem. Battle Royale, huh? How about I invite another one? Make it even more exciting.
Yeah, that's a good idea. This is gonna be some good fun.
And now we just need to find a partner. There were some really good suggestions in the comments on how to get around the arena objective without killing anything, including non-violent ways to impress the slavers enough to let you talk to Asher. And the end result is a kind of mix-and-match combination of ideas that fit together. It ended up being no kill, but not no combat. Pure non-violent solutions would require a total rewrite of the DLC. There are dozens and dozens of places in the third act where dialogue or other plot points are based on the player being the arena champion. That would all have to be made conditional on whether the player went the vanilla route or chose the non-violent path, and there'd have to be a more or less equivalent amount of new dialogue added, plus other content like appropriate quest objectives for the Pip-Boy, notes, message boxes, you get the idea. Which would be very cool, no doubt, but it's well beyond the comparatively modest scope of Pam. Anyway, there are two people you can ask for help, Medadia or Millie. During combat, they both have a new option to give them medical assistance, and you'll probably have to use it. There are different requirements to persuade them, and they each have pros and cons. We'll talk to Millie first, since she's right here.
Any luck finding Wild Bill?
Ordinarily, if you talk to her while the arena is open, she just says good luck or whatever and brushes you off. But the prerequisite to recruit her as your arena partner is completing the unmarked quest to find Wild Bill, so with the mod, you can do any stage of it at any time. I got the quest and found Bill a couple weeks ago, but I didn't turn it in yet, which is why we get this option. If I'd already turned it in, her greeting would be different, and our line would be like, I need a partner for the arena. Was finding Bill worth a favor? If you never talked to her, she'll ask you to find him, and you can go do that or immediately turn it in if you already stumbled across him on your own. Pretty much exactly like in the vanilla game. It's also worth noting that there are normally 3 options to complete it. You can tell her the truth, lie to spare her feelings, which requires a very easy speech check, or pass a different very easy speech check to tell her a wildly exaggerated version that focuses on how much he suffered. She faints. But in every case, you get 6 stim packs, and there's no impact on future interactions or events, not even any negative karma for being cruel. Relevant to the topic at hand, if the game differentiated between the options, I would have made the recruitment dialogue dependent on that. Like, if you told her the truth, she'd help automatically. If you told her the kind lie, it would require a speech challenge, because then she'd believe Bill is still alive and wouldn't have any reason to want revenge. And if you were cruel, she'd tell you to go pound sand. But unfortunately, it doesn't. So while the arena is open, a half-truth is the only option. If you want to tell her the whole truth, the kind lie, or the cruel lie, you can bail out here and turn in the quest after you become champion, but you won't be able to recruit her to help in the arena. But Luz is no stranger to half-truths, so we'll go with that. Bill's dead, and in a strange twist of fate, his killers are my arena opponents.
That's horrible. Poor Bill.
The bailout option here completes the unmarked quest and ends the dialogue, although you can still come back and recruit her with the you owe me a favor option. But Luz is sticking to her story. If you want some payback, Phaedra says I can have a partner in the arena.
Oh, I'm in. Just promise me one thing. When this shit goes down, you put a weapon in my hand and give me my due.
Absolutely. I'm a pacifist. But I can heal you in combat if you have supplies.
Here, take these stim packs. It's all I have.
Which also completes the unmarked quest and gives you 6 stim packs. These will help, thanks. Now, about that weapon.
Okay.
From here on out, the recruitment is identical in all 3 cases. If you completed the unmarked quest before Asher's speech, if you started it earlier and completed it now like we just did, or if you never talked to her and did the whole thing during the recruiting phase. You can only give her certain items for reasons I'll explain in a minute, and I cleverly left all the weapons and armor I have in Medadia's desk. Fortunately, I accounted for that exact possibility. Wait a minute, maybe I can find better weapons and armor than I have on me.
Oh, okay.
The main downside with Millie is that she isn't marked as essential. If she dies, you have the dilemma of whether to kill your opponent and survive, or stick to your principles, die, and wait for the game to load your last autosave. Which, for better or worse, is at least consistent with the DLC's no good choices design philosophy. I could have made her temporarily immortal, but that made the alternate solution too easy, and as I've said many times, one of my design goals is to maintain gameplay balance. If I have to make a choice between a bit harder or a lot easier, I lean toward a bit harder. On the plus side, Millie's a lot better in combat than Medadia, which isn't something I did. For some reason, her stats in the vanilla game are heavily weighted toward small guns and melee weapons, which most of the slaves are not. Not sure if there's a reason for that in lore, or if it's just a happy accident. Either way, she'll do reasonably well if she has an appropriate weapon and decent armor. Which is part of the reason there's a specific limited list of gear you can give her, rather than just opening up a companion inventory menu and trading items. Maybe more importantly, back to design philosophy, both my own don't make it too easy ethos and the DLC's overall theme of difficult compromises, I didn't want the alternate solution to come without a cost. Sacrificing unique items has more gravitas than giving her generic stuff you'd otherwise just ignore or sell. The last reason is an implementation detail, and I'll talk about that when I get into the technical stuff at the end. And while I am going to take Millie as my partner for at least the first fight, we haven't locked her in yet. So while we're here, let's have a look at Medadia's recruitment dialogue.
Watch yourself in the arena. We can't do this without you.
Phaedra said I could have a partner in the arena. I want you to fight with me.
Are you crazy?
There are a few different ways you can convince her. The first is a very hard speech check, but Luce has a decent chance anyway due to high speech and charisma. The second is automatic, but only available if you told her you're a pacifist before Asher's speech. It's slightly different depending on whether or not you confronted her about it afterwards, which we did, but you get the same result either way. But I don't actually want to recruit her right now, so we won't do that just yet. The third option is to give her some armor, which has a bailout option, so we can look at that. I can provide you with armor. Unlike some people, I don't want to see you die.
Fine. What do you have?
The options to give gear to Millie or Medadia are a big part of why I've been saying we wanted to collect as many ingots for Everett as we could the last few weeks. There'd be one more option if we had collected all 100, but giving her one locks her in as your partner, so never mind.
Oh, good. I can go back to working to death.
I have to go now.
Our freedom is in your hands.
Medadia is essential and has to stay that way because unlike some characters with that flag, she literally is essential to the plot. The downside is that she's not as good in combat as Millie, which means you'll burn more resources either keeping her on her feet or keeping yourself alive during the inevitable periods when she's unconscious, especially if you guilt her into helping without giving her any armor. And she really doesn't want to do it. If she did, she wouldn't have conspired to hire an out-of-towner for the gig. That resentment will make later speech challenges with her harder, even vanilla ones. So again, getting her help doesn't come without a cost of one kind or another.
Any luck finding weapons?
You can give her Wild Bill's pistol or any of Everett's rewards for collecting ingots. If you really don't want to give up any unique weapons, you can tell her to borrow something from Phaedra, but it'll be a weak, better-than-nothing weapon, so she'll take longer to kill the enemies, and you'll burn more stimpaks keeping her alive. I tried to hint at which items she can use more effectively without breaking immersion too much. Like I said, she's surprisingly good with small guns and melee weapons. Energy weapons, not so much, although we'll also have the option to give her some armor, and the Metal Master buffs energy weapon skill by 10, which would make her a bit more effective with the Metal Blaster. You can also give her the Perforator if you have it, and she'll be an absolute beast with that. But it's the reward for 90 ingots, which would require going into the supply area, and I just don't want to do that until we get the stealth suit back. So the question is, what's the best option out of what we do have? She'll dish out a ton of damage with the Mauler, but all the obstacles in the arena give NPCs trouble trying to close to melee weapon range. So, take Wild Bill's sidearm. Bit of poetic justice. I think the ridiculous rate of fire makes up for the comparatively low damage per shot.
Perfect.
And this is completely optional, but just like giving her a good weapon, highly recommended so you don't burn through stimpaks as fast. I'd better give you some armor, too.
All right.
And we have a bug. Be right back. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. The complicated part of this is the infrastructure stuff behind the scenes, and that all works exactly the same for Medadia or Millie, which I tested with Medadia. The only difference between the two is their recruitment dialogue, so I didn't bother testing with Millie because dialogue is easy and there was no way I could screw that up. Anyway, I'm gonna stick with Wild Bill's sidearm.
Perfect.
I'd better give you some armor, too.
All right.
Much better. If you turn in 100 ingots, you can also give her the tribal power armor, but we stopped at 80 because, like I said, I don't even want to think about going into the supply area without the stealth suit. The next highest DR is the Metal Master. I know I said Luce was thinking about keeping it because 36 DR for 15 weight is really tempting to carry for emergencies, but that's a nice to have, and keeping Millie alive is a must-have. So, even though the energy weapons buff is wasted with Wild Bill's pistol, I'm gonna give her that.
Excellent.
And here's the crux of this solution. Phaedra has now said on 2 separate occasions that the winner is the last one standing, not the last one alive. One more thing. When all 3 opponents are down, you need to take a knee.
Well, okay. It's just... Oh, I'm so ready to do this!
And now we just need to talk to Phaedra to start the fight. If you recruited a partner, they don't actually become temporary companions or anything. They won't follow you around, so you can't abuse the feature to make collecting ingots easier or anything like that. But when you start the fight, they'll enter the arena with you. And it probably goes without saying, but if you didn't recruit a partner, you'll just be on your own as usual, and it's kill or be killed. I'm ready to fight.
Are you sure about that? 'Cause once I lock the door, there's no going back. Arena rules.
Let's do it.
If you're ready, just step on in.
Don't forget there are a couple doses of Rad-X on this stand. The radiation barrels in there are no joke. We're pretty close to getting radiation sickness, and I was thinking about taking a rat away before we start, but hopefully we won't be in there long enough for it to get serious. And Phaedra gives us a rad scrub right after the fight, so I'd rather save it for the later rounds. They might take longer, in which case our rad level could get high enough that we really do need to lower it mid-fight. Anyway, I guess I can't put it off any longer. Pop some of that Rad-X and go in.
They will fight, they will die, and all for you, all for your entertainment.
And as soon as the barrels drop, the enemy's aggro and the radiation starts. There we go.
Over here!
Well, I was gonna try to stay hidden and close to Millie, but already detected, so much for that idea. Your partner is wounded. What do you want to do? Right now, the only options are to heal your partner with a stim pack or do nothing. I made it flexible enough that I could add other items you could use if you run out, like blood packs or whatever, but in testing I never used more than 12 stim packs through the first 2 rounds, which is a reasonable number to have at this point in the DLC. Let me know if you think I should add some last resort options for players who weren't as lucky as I was with finding stim packs, or who want to keep all the unique loot for themselves and let their partner fight in their street clothes.
Mistake you'll ever make.
And there's only one left standing! Only one! Oh, my friends, what a fantastic fight! How far will this slave go?
Medadia takes a knee. Why aren't you? Remember, kids, friends don't let friends make YouTube videos about mod features they haven't thoroughly tested. Well, let's get out of here and talk to Phaedra.
Wow. Impressive, Slave. Those were some of the toughest scabs around here. You've got some fight in you, it seems. But I wouldn't get too excited. I'm sure Asher's got something special planned for your next fight. Here's something for the Rads. Enjoy it while you can. Come back when you're ready for your next fight.
Wait.
You again? Back for more, huh?
Let's talk about the next fight.
I wouldn't count on luck this time. You damn well better be ready.
Who am I going to be fighting?
Asher says he wants to make this one good, so he gave you the Bear Brothers. They're a couple of mean bastards. Hell, rumor has it they're halfway to Trog as it is. But I'm sure you'll do fine. Just fine.
People want to fight, not an execution. A 2 versus 2 battle would be more interesting.
Another good idea? You must be the smartest asshole in the pit.
Alright, before I go any further, I'm going to drop a save and figure out why Millie didn't take a knee. So much for the infrastructure stuff is identical. The only bugs that could affect Millie but not Medadia would be in their recruitment dialogue theory.
Glad that's over.
And there's only one left standing! Only one! Oh, my friends, what a fantastic fight! How far will this slave go?
Wow. Impressive, Slave. Those were some of the toughest scabs around here. You've got some fight in you, it seems. But I wouldn't get too excited. I'm sure Asher's got something special planned for your next fight. Here's something for the Rads. Enjoy it while you can. Come back when you're ready for your next fight.
And once again, we need to recruit a partner. You can go with the same person, which they'll automatically agree to, or switch, as long as you meet the new partner's recruitment requirements. Which leaves us with a dilemma. Now that Millie got us past the scrubs, do we want to switch to Medadia? One of the Bear Brothers has a Deathclaw gauntlet which ignores enemy DR. If he manages to corner Millie and we can't get to her or run out of stim packs before she gets free, she's dead, and if she dies, it's game over. Medadia can't die, but we'd have to give up another set of unique armor. It wouldn't help against the Deathclaw gauntlet, but if she's in her street clothes taking full damage from both brothers, we would definitely deplete our stim pack supply before round 3, and that would be a fatal mistake. A non-fatal mistake is that I got distracted by the bug with Millie and forgot to ask Phaedra about the next fight and get permission to recruit a partner. People want to fight, not an execution. A 2 versus 2 battle would be more interesting.
Another good idea? You must be the smartest asshole in the pit.
Complicating the choice even further, you don't get to give Medadia a weapon, only armor. she always uses an auto-axe, because plot-wise, she'd want to inspire the rebels. Like, see, don't worry, Margot makes weapons that can beat arena gladiators. When the uprising starts, you'll cut through the bosses like butter. And meta-wise, she sucks with all weapons, so there was no point in having a kind of mini-game like Millie where you get to choose her loadout based on what she's good at and any synergy with armor buffs, which means Medadia has no choice but to get within range of the Deathclaw gauntlet, whereas Millie can at least try to keep her distance. However, I think I'm going to have to go with Medadia just because of the essential flag. Luce certainly appreciates a good souvenir, but she appreciates staying alive even more, and the only thing she might have considered keeping to actually use was the Metal Master, and we already gave that to Millie.
That fight was impressive. One more to go.
Phaedra said I could have a partner in the arena. I want you to fight with me. And this time, I really mean it.
Are you crazy?
As tempting as it is to remind her that she knew we were a pacifist and threw us under the bus anyway, I can provide you with armor. Unlike some people, I don't want to see you die.
Fine. What do you have?
I really wish we had the tribal power armor, because it would be hilarious to see the whole becoming the thing you hate theme reflected symbolically in her appearance as well, but the next highest DR we have is the bombshell armor.
Good enough, I guess.
It's a 2 versus 2 battle this time. We're in this together.
Whatever.
I have to go now.
Our freedom is in your hands.
And just like before, now we talk to Phaedra and start the fight as usual. Oh, crap. Maybe I should have stuck with Millie. I'm already having buyer's remorse. I forgot recruiting Medadia lowers her disposition and makes speech challenges harder, which might come back to bite us later, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And yes, I forgot a feature that I was just talking about 10 minutes ago, but at least my goal of making this a tough choice has apparently been a success. I'm ready to fight.
I wouldn't count on luck this time. You damn well better be ready.
Let's do it.
Well, all right, that's what I like to hear. Get on in there.
I saw that last dose of Rad-X just wore off, so let's take another one before we head in.
Let's find out if the newcomer can hold his own against real fighters.
I knew I heard
Blaze, fight!
Owning her. Yeah, maybe I should have stuck with Millie.
Keep him pinned down.
I swear, I tested this like 10 times, and she never had this much trouble, but they have her backed into a corner.
I'm gonna tear you the fuck apart.
Need some healing myself.
Shit. I was only...
What time?
The Bear Brothers are dead! Amazing! This newcomer is showing promise, my friends!
Not bad, Grinder, not bad. The Bear Brothers were some pretty mean sons of bitches. One more fight and you're free. But I wouldn't plan on making it through the next one. Here's a shot for the Rads. Come back when you're ready for your last fight.
Wait,
You again? Back for more, huh?
information about the next fight, please.
This'll be your last fight, Scab. One more and I don't get to call you that anymore. You ready?
Probably not. Who am I going to be fighting?
You're going up against Gruber. He's one of the only slaves to win in the hole. There's only ever been, what, 3? I guess he got a taste for blood. But unfortunately for you, he's got a pretty decent gun. So odds are this is the last time you and I will be talking.
I know this is supposed to be the solo championship, but hear me out.
Not interested. This time, it's just the two of you.
Oh no! I am definitely not ready for that.
I'm not surprised. Just don't take too long. And don't get yourself killed anywhere but in here.
The thing is, I simply could not think of a plausible way you could both persuade Phaedra to let you have a partner for the final fight and still declare you to be the champion if said partner actually did all the work while you hid in a corner and occasionally jabbed him in the ass with a stim pack. So, will Luce compromise her principles, or is this the end for our intrepid hero? Tune in for the next exciting episode of Luce, Pacifist Gladiator. And all kidding aside, I am going to call it a day here. I have one solution that works, but still needs a bit of polish, and I've been spitballing a plan B. I really want there to be multiple options, like the Millie or Medadia choice, although obviously the choice here won't be picking a partner for the fight. I just haven't found a plan B that really clicks for me, so the next episode may not be next week if I'm still working on it. If you bail out when I start talking about technical stuff, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you haven't already. And if you have suggestions for ways the player could end up as the arena champion without personally killing Gruber, please leave them in the comments. I'm not going to go into excruciating detail on the new dialogue, but there's a ton of it, and while we've used most of the various techniques involved to implement previous features, this is kind of like a final exam where all of those techniques come together and play some part in the solution. Millie and Phaedra have dialogue trees with explicitly defined choices, so we need to override their greetings or other topics where we want to inject new dialogue options. Straight overrides just use existing audio and lip sync resources. Medadia has quite a bit of background lore, details about current objectives, and so on, which players might not want to get in a single info dump, so she mostly has open-ended greetings and a variety of top-level topics, which makes adding new options for her really simple, like we saw last week with the option to confront her after Asher's speech. And there are new dialogue branches during the recruiting process for different persuasion angles, bailout options, selecting weapons and armor, and so on. Almost all of that has new audio and lip sync files made by doing mashups of existing dialogue in Audacity. Result scripts in the weapon and armor choices take care of removing the appropriate items from the player and adding them to the NPCs. Maybe the most important thing is that all of the recruitment dialogue for either NPC funnels down to a single topic, Arena Help Final, which sets quest variables that are used to control who helps us when we finally step into the arena, if anyone. Round 1 or Round 2, switching partners or asking your first partner to fight with you again, it all comes through here. It doesn't have to be that way, but as we saw earlier, I forgot to set up the correct choices on Millie's Have Some Armor dialogue. If the finalized code was scattered across 5 or 6 recruitment paths, there'd be 5 or 6 times as many opportunities to screw up. Once the recruitment dialogue sets the necessary variables, the real magic happens when you step into the arena. We've seen other features where there were scripts to enforce the right temporary AI packages on an NPC because directly adding a package to the list in their NPC object would create a potential mod conflict, and that gets complicated in a hurry. Plus, Medadia and Millie both have problematic confidence and aggression settings in their AI, object scripts that do things that aren't really compatible, and half a dozen other reasons that making them fight in the arena would be a nightmare. So my solution was, I just didn't. I made copies of their base objects, changed the appropriate AI parameters and packages on the copies, and placed surrogate refs in the arena. The weapon and armor dialogue choices add the same items to the real NPC and their surrogate ref. I also removed their vanilla scripts and gave them a shared script that handles the healing menu and making them kneel down at the end of round 1. Version 1 was accidentally specific to Medadia, which is why Millie didn't take a knee the first time. And there's an on-death block that only applies to Millie because Medadia is immortal. If surrogate Millie dies in the arena, we kill and disable real Millie. So if she dies and you kill your opponents in a blind rage, you won't find her happily strolling around downtown when you leave. There's a trigger zone at the arena entrance that enables and disables the correct surrogate, or disables both of them if the player didn't recruit a partner for the fight. And the flip side of surrogate Millie's on-death block. If you recruit Millie as your partner, but she dies before you reach the arena, the trigger zone won't spawn her surrogate to help you. Theoretically, that can only happen if you kill her yourself, but never underestimate the power of physics glitches and the like. There are multiple ways I could have done the kneeling animation. I made a new animation object in the GECK, which uses the existing kneeling hostage animation file as its resource. The vanilla kneeling hostage animation is conditional on the target NPC using a specific kneeling hostage marker. There's a neat technique that I think I first saw in the Vanessa Companion mod, where a script spawns a furniture object, places it near the NPC, and sets a flag, which is a condition on an AI package to use that kind of object, so their animation does a smoother transition from whatever they were doing to using the object. And by furniture object, that can be something normal like a folding chair, or in our case, it would be the vanilla kneeling marker, which is invisible in-game. But that would be subject to a couple of potentially immersion-breaking problems. First, it'd take them a few seconds to reach the marker and play the getting into position part of the animation, so the announcer could start declaring the winner while more than one person is still standing. Plus, the ground in the arena is uneven with several platforms, so if the elevation of the floor at the spot where the NPC is standing is different than the elevation of the floor at the spot where the marker gets placed, they could end up kneeling in midair or glitching into scenery. Playing the animation directly on your partner avoids both of those issues, albeit at the cost of having them drop to their knees in a slightly unrealistic way because there's no transition animation. I could use Blender to concatenate the transition to kneeling animation file and the on their knees animation file into a single animation file, but that'd be a lot of work to fix a purely cosmetic issue that I'm not sure most people will even recognize as a problem. I mean, you tell your partner to take a knee when the last opponent goes down, and the fact that they do it really quickly so you can get the hell out of the arena is actually a good thing, right? The healing menu works exactly like menus we've seen with other features, the only wrinkle being that it comes up when you click on a character rather than a switch or something. The code that heals your partner works a bit differently from other companion heal options, like giving Sydney a stimpack during stealing independence, because the amount of healing there is based on Sydney's medicine skill, not the player's. Which makes sense because in that case you're actually handing it over and letting her use it on herself. Here, you're running up and jabbing her in the middle of the fight, so it seemed to me it would make more sense to base it on the player's medicine skill. Which, if you're doing a no-kill run, is probably pretty good, and even if it's not, it's mathematically impossible for it to be lower than your partner's because Millie and Medadia both absolutely suck at medicine. And no spoilers, but remember that in the third act. And speaking of sucking, it's impossible to overstate just how terrible Medadia is at combat. The version you saw has a couple tweaks to her stats to make the surrogate better with melee weapons than the original, and she has a custom auto axe that combines the best features of the Mauler and the Man Opener, the two unique auto axe variants, and she was still terrible. The custom axe seemed justified because she's the rebel leader, and if Marco made a real masterpiece, of course he'd want her to have it. If you remember the first episode when I was talking about lore and what's canon, and I said the official strategy guide isn't, but I generally take what it says pretty seriously, yeah, this is the exception. It says, and I quote, Medadia is tough enough to earn her freedom by fighting in the arena, but has chosen to stay with the slaves because yada yada yada. And she is objectively not. In fact, what's it say about Millie? Well, it doesn't explicitly say she's a badass, but it does say she and Bill were close friends and worked in the mill together, which suggests they had a similar workout routine. More interestingly, it says she's the one who's been stockpiling medical supplies and putting them in all those hidden stashes we found a couple weeks ago. So thanks for that, Millie. And I think that's everything we saw this week. It should come as no surprise that the arena is the most complicated required killing situation we've had to work around so far in the DLC or the base game, and we're not done yet. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.